Welcome back to Talk of the Town on WHTC, Holland's Cool FM, on WHTC.com, and on the WHTC app for your smartphone. Once again, here's your host, Gary Stevens.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town for this Friday, August 7th. First Friday of the month, we update things going on with the Holland Department of Public Safety, either with fire operations or with police services. It's Fire Operations Spotlight today, and Fire Marshal Bret Groendyke on the other side of our table this morning. Bret, good morning. Welcome back, sir.
Morning, Gary. Thanks for having me. I tried to find some flowers in the parking lot to cheer you up this morning.
Well, the sun is starting to break through, so thank you very much.
That's good.
Yeah, I'm a person that likes sun. Give me that vitamin D.
It's healthy.
Yes, it is good, and of course, with me, once I get my tan, I'm good for I'm good for the summer.
Base tan's good for a month or so, then.
Yeah, everything's good.
That's good.
616-395-1450. If you have a question for the fire marshal, 616-395-1450. Even though we've had the dog days of summer early, we're back into more seasonal temperatures. Still, dog days of summer will be coming up soon, and so let's keep everybody safe with the charcoal and the propane grills. Yeah. Most notably.
Would you believe that this summer most of the folks have been maintaining a good level of fire safety? And I'm pleased to report that. Our busy time of year for fires is actually January and February. And then mercifully it tends to tune down in the summer, but the types of fires that we have change a little bit. And we did experience a very significant fire on the 26th of July that, based upon the available evidence today, appears to have extended from an unextinguished campfire. And that damaged 2 structures in the core city area, 2 residences, and displaced those folks, and also damaged one of their vehicles, significantly destroyed it, and burned a couple of fences. One of the factors contributing to that was the dry conditions of the backyard, the grass, but there's a handful of things that can be done to mitigate any type of campfire that you have in the city. And so one of the common phone calls that we'll receive is, can I have a campfire in the city? It's like, well, yes. There's some conditions that make that permitted. One is if you were to have a manufactured fire ring or container. There's some distance requirements to keep those away from structures. It's 15 feet away from combustible material if it's in a ring, a manufactured ring, or one of the stand-up. They got them on wheels now, you see. But if you don't have any sort of containment like that for it, it's 25 feet from a structure. And a lot of the homes, for the size of their backyards, find that difficult to be able to do. So those manufactured rings are, again, manufactured rings, the stand-up versions, is typically what we recommend in those situations. What you're going to burn also matters significantly. So it has to be dry wood that's been pre-cut. Anything wet is going to create a significant amount of smoke, and the smoke is usually what gets us called out. A neighbor will be frustrated because they have a breathing problem, trying to get the kids to bed, any of those conditions. And then if your fire is making an excessive amount of smoke, then if it's deemed a nuisance, it can be ordered to be extinguished by the fire department. That's pretty much it for what you can burn. Good, clean-cut wood. You can use some starter. That's understandable. You got to be able to get the wood to full combustion. But if you're burning garbage, if you're burning recyclable materials or yard waste of any kind, that includes tree clippings or brush, anything like that, that's not permitted. There's just a greater degree of extension that comes off of those materials as they burn. So, again, to recap, it's got to be in an approved container, and it has to be clean-cut wood to fit into that recreational fire category.
Now, will there be a restriction on fires such as that when we have situations such as what we had last month with the smoke coming in from Canada?
Yeah, so any type of circumstance that's going to contribute to that further is going to be not permitted. And so in my role, I have the ability to look at what the Department of Environmental Quality is putting out, what the DNR is saying in terms of if they have a red flag or anything like that, and say, look, based on the current conditions, we're only contributing to an existing problem. And so based on that, no fires until the wind changes, they get enough rain to be able to extinguish a lot of those very large forest fires, brush fires in the northern part of the continent, as it were, and get some extinguishing on that and control the smoke and the issue. Because that was pretty incredible to really see that, and especially that Thursday and that Friday. It was really shocking to see. Surprisingly, and I almost anticipated it, I thought we would be getting some smoke alarms just because of the amount of particulate, and we never saw anything like that, which I thought was rather interesting.
Yeah, maybe we just had the hazy stuff, and I'll get to I might get to that a little bit later. The other thing that you mentioned in your opening response is dealing with dry conditions. I noticed from the U.S. Drought Monitor, that most recent one, that Ottawa and Allegan County is now in abnormally dry conditions, the lowest level of the drought.
The light yellow?
Yes, the light yellow, which means, we need a couple of good soakers to be able to do that. But that, maybe I wouldn't say, yellow's a good way of putting it. It's cautionary.
Yeah, notice should be given at this point. And some areas are going to be drier than others, right? And again, going back to that particular fire that occurred in the city on the 26th, the best way to mitigate that is just understand, have some awareness, right? To not be burning when it's abnormally dry or excessively dry. Be mindful of what you're burning so that you're not overloading any sort of a fire pit or wherever it is that you're having your fire at, so that you get material that falls out of that containment area and then spreads to the surrounding structures or grass cover.
Now, by the way, if you have a question for Holland's Fire Marshal Bret Groendyke, 616-395-1450. Talk a little bit about, and I'm going to bring this up, talk a little bit about the situation that's going on in Canada. We've discussed wildfires out west in the past, and this is almost an annual situation that's going on within the remote areas of Ontario, Quebec, and the Great White North. Some are saying Canada's not doing enough. Others saying Canada needs some help in terms of fighting these wildfires. As you've seen this as an outside observer from where you're located here in Holland, is it a case of management? Is it a case of resources, or what, that has caused really 2 or 3 straight years of Canadian wildfire problems?
I think it's easy for any one person to be able to look at something and say, this was a defining factor in such an event. I can go back to what I know about what causes a fire. You need heat, you need oxygen, and you need fuel, right? If you have enough of those, if those elements are brought together in a particular way, you have your fire. But the sustaining factor in any fire is the available fuel to really keep things going. If it's in an outdoor area, you have an earth-wide supply of oxygen, right? You have a fire that's now sustaining its own heat. So really the question is the fuel. Does that go back to management? I don't have a good enough set of eyes on the ground up there to know what their forest management situation is. I know that if you have enough of a fuel, you're going to sustain combustion. But I also know that at least looking at the maps of where the fires were occurring at, where the smoke was coming from, and I was doing my own research and looking for road overlays and how close those were to population centers, how easy it was to mobilize to get to those areas. They were remote. I mean, there's no other way to put that. So there's not a lot of access around there to be able to get there. I think that there's a lot of factors that go into that, things that I don't necessarily know that I'm qualified to speak on or really offer an opinion on. But what I can say is that if you have a lot of fuel, you'll sustain the fire. Does that go back to a question of management? I can't say for sure because I don't know enough about what's going on in their country, the economics of logging, and the other factors that go into that. But if you want to continue to have something burn and you have enough fuel, it'll do that.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of frustration right now. Here, we have to put up with the smoke and the particulates and all that. But whenever people complain about all that, I say, hey, let's deal with this. Deal with the source and try to address the source of the problem, and understand that addressing the source also addressing those who are affected most notably. And that's people that might be in that area. Maybe not a lot of people, but there's still people there.
Sure, and I think that's what we always try to educate folks on with any fire is people are worried about the flames, which is understandable because the flames are the spreading of the combustion of whatever the material is, right? But what we try to educate people on is that your real threat is the smoke. Like the thing that's going to impact you the most is having the inability to breathe. Like that's what we try to impress upon people is like that's why you have a smoke alarm, because it'll identify a small amount of smoke before it becomes a large amount of smoke and threatens your life. And so again, yes, the fire is a problem because it'll continue to propagate until it's run out of fuel. There's not enough heat to sustain it, or it runs out of oxygen. But through its combustion process, it produces that smoke, and the smoke is a main problem in really any fire for people. We're worried about getting burned, the pain that goes along with that. But it's the inability to breathe that you're not going to last long if you're not breathing.
That's true. That is definitely true. We all need good oxygen.
Yeah.
If you have a question for Brent Groendyke, the Holland Fire Marshal, 616-395-1450. Over the past week, about 10,000 acres of land in northwest part of our country, eastern Washington, the Spokane area, have been charred. 3 separate fires. Yeah. A person has been arrested, possibly involving arson in that particular situation.
Yep.
As bringing that story closer to home, how concerned should we be that a situation such as what is happening in Spokane, how concerned should we be that it could happen here?
I've got a lot of concerns for our city. Let's start there, fire-wise. A conflagration level fire where you have something that is incapable of really being extinguished with the resources that we have immediately available. So our fire department, our neighboring mutual aid partners, if we can't get the fire out with that, and then you start losing not individual homes but blocks, I think that's a far-off thought for a lot of people, and I don't think that it's that far off of a thought. I don't. We just had a fire on the 26th that started from, again, based on the available evidence, a campfire in a backyard that destroyed 2 homes. And had we not had the response and the aggressive tactics that we use here in our department to really get in there and attack a fire and bring it under control as quickly as possible, we would have lost more things. We would have lost more homes. We would have lost more things in that particular neighborhood. That's why we have the fire department that we have, right? Is to be able to rapidly extinguish those fires and aggressively do so in our community. So I don't believe that it's that far of a way of a thought to have that type of an event in the city. We have fires where we lose. We have risk for fires where we lose multiple homes, things like that. If it's unmonitored to the point or not caught in a timely way, to be able to really bring it under control quickly, yeah, you can. It's very possible. Once it gets into the trees, and you've got the wind is the big factor there, right? Once it gets into the trees and you're blowing embers at an extended distance, you've got a major setup for a significant problem. Holland has that risk. Other neighborhoods have that risk. Some neighborhoods do, some neighborhoods don't. The homes are built at enough of a distance where you're not going to have that immediate radiated heat effect structure to structure. But But in our city, that is possible to have that happen. It has already happened in 1871. I think that people think that's was 100 and some years ago. It's not. It's like, no, that's the same thing that happened today. All those structures were rebuilt. They were rebuilt with lighter weight plastics on their exteriors. There's lightweight plastics all in your house, in your yard. There's all these things that are contributing fuels. There's that word again. That will propagate a fire based on the available fuel. So
now you are the fire marshal, and keep that in mind. You are not Lou Hunt, which is the Ottawa County Emergency Management Director, or Sarah Clark, the Allegan County Emergency Management Director, or even Scott Corbin, who is the Kent County Emergency Management Director, a Holland City Councilman. But I would think, and maybe, hopefully I'm not assuming something wrong, there is discussion between emergency officials to be ready in case a situation such as what's going on in Spokane happens here.
Yeah, we train with them at a level to make sure that in the event that something like that does happen, that we can bring in more resources to control that situation. I think that's the biggest thing to understand with that relationship is, okay, something really serious has happened now. What do we need to bring it under control now? What do we need to stabilize the situation and then start to bring in some resources for a longer-term effect on the people that are impacted? So whether it's individuals, where are you going to sleep? How are you going to eat? Or businesses, how are you going to make a living? That's kind of where that networking takes place at. So at the immediate fire service level, our goal is, number one, prevent it, and number two, once it happens, put it out, right? Like, that's what all those resources are there. That's why community invests in its fire department, has a capable staff, has capable trucks, and all the other support factors that go into it. But like, that's ultimately what it comes down to. But mercifully, those fires that occur that threaten an entire community are few and far between. Again, it's still national news when it happens, right? People look at that situation and say, wow, look at the loss that's going on in such and such a community. And it's like, yes, that got out of control. And then, you know, they'll do an after action. And here's what the factors were that contributed to such a things. And weather and topography, building styles, construction, all those things go into it. And then if we really get serious about it, we develop codes. And then we say, look, we're going to enforce this so that this doesn't happen again. And then the cycle repeats itself. Mm-hmm. That's why we talk about it. Yeah.
Let me revisit a situation or a cause that you have talked about in the past, and I sort of want to revisit it because even though we're not getting as many people driving perhaps electric vehicles, mm-hmm. there is still that fire risk, which really is a tough fire risk in terms of dealing with vehicle fires with an electric vehicle because of the lithium-ion battery. It's not, you really can't put those out as fast as you can maybe a different type of fire.
Yeah, that's accurate. And I guess the theme of the day, at least the theme of our talk, has been fuel. With those lithium-ion batteries, they operate as any fuel tank is they have the capacity to do work, and once that fuel capacity is exhausted, the fire will go out, at least with the lithium-ion battery. And so once that piece of the problem has been isolated, then you can extinguish all the other things that were ignited by the battery that are around them. So clearly vehicles have a lot of other components to them that are not just the battery. But with any sort of lithium-ion battery fire, it's difficult to get extinguishment of the lithium-ion cells themselves. They go into a process called thermal runaway, and then once all those individual lithium cells are consumed or burned up, all that energy's been burned off, then it's just a matter of extinguishing everything that's around it. We saw that with the facility over there on the south end of town last summer and last spring, where we had those vehicle battery chassis burn in a warehouse. There was at least the second one. I think there was at least 8 or 10 of them. The first one was probably like 5 or 6. But they go like a rocket once they get going. I mean, once thermal runaway initiates in any of those battery module, those very large packs, once they initiate, it's just a matter of burning until the fuel is gone. And so we controlled and contained them as best we could inside those warehouses. The suppression system really was what did the job there, and was able to mitigate any of that heat from extending beyond each of those cells, to a degree. And then it was just a matter of getting them outside, and we just let them burn, because you can't put them out. And that's what people have to understand is, like, once that stuff gets going, it's going to go until it's out. Because even we had a fire recently with a lithium-ion battery vehicle that was burned in a fire. We moved it off that property as quick as possible because they have the potential to reignite. And so we moved them out of that property, got them they store it out in the middle of an open field, and if it burns, it burns, and if it doesn't, hey, great. So,
is there concern for those who have, say, a little smartphone, laptop computer that also have lithium-ion batteries? It's not as big as a vehicle, but it could cause the same amount of damage?
Yeah, it can. Again, it's how much charge was on that battery. I investigated a fire. It's been a couple of Decembers now, but investigated a lithium-ion battery phone fire. And I think the biggest thing that was a benefit in that case was that the battery was probably just about dead. There was probably very little charge left on it. And that's why that fire didn't get going a lot hotter, a lot more significant. But yeah, laptops, cell phones. I think that the thing that people have to keep in, like, all things matter in context, right? And so we put lithium-ion batteries in our ears with our AirPods, and we, not to pick teams, but that's just what people are using.
Yeah. That's
iPhones. I got a laptop right in front of me here. So it's like we got multiple lithium-ion batteries in this room, right? Companies engineer a product so that it doesn't explode and drive away their customers. And so that's a good mindset to have, right? Make a good product that people want to have, and then not have it fail, and then
because if it fails spectacularly.
Yes, exactly, right? And so in that case, what we are typically seeing with our lithium-ion battery fires is, in my experience, it's not an inherently engineering-based problem. It's something else that was done to the cell that caused the problem, right? Because they make millions upon millions of these cells. It's a matter of, when you bought it, what did you do to it? Did you charge it with the right cord? Did you drop it all the time? Did you, let a coffee cup get poured all over your laptop and it infiltrated the battery? So there's all these contributing things that go into it. It's never like, oh, it just exploded. It's like, that's not really how it works. There's something, somebody did something.
Or you had it too close to the oven.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, that's a perfect example. Yes. If it was too close to the oven, you're going to damage that thermal separator. And if you mix an anode with a cathode, you got a problem. And so you're exactly right. Those are the things that occur more commonly. It's what I see, at least.
If you need more information about Holland Department of Public Safety, go to cityofholland.com under residents, and you'll be able to get more information in that tab. Fire Marshal Bret Groendyke, thank you very much for passing on some helpful tips about dealing with fires and fuel for the fires. Wish you and your family well. And if all goes well, let's do this again in the month of October for Fire Prevention Month.
All the best to you as well, Gary. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Holland Fire Marshal Bret Groendyke. NBC News, Michael Kastner, straight ahead, followed by WHTC News. More talk at the town, including Brian Spencer's What's New Around Holland. And we'll be chatting with India Ambrose with Resilience Advocates for Ending Violence. You're listening to Talk of the Town on WHTC, Holland's Cool FM.